And right now I'm going to move us over to our official topic for Hot Topics because it is just 8:01. It is my pleasure to turn the floor over to Chris Sheehan, who is going to share with us some new information he found out from a workshop that he went to. And I think the fact that some of our printed materials are being converted to digital is wonderful. So Chris, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Betty. Everybody just stand by 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen here. All right, well, like Betty said, it is exciting that Speechcraft is now virtual or digital. Speechcraft has been a part of Toastmasters now for quite a while, and if you are familiar with the program at all, you know that when you hosted a Speechcraft, you got a big old packet of books that came in the mail and you distributed out those books, and now they have gone and they have made it into a digital experience, which is helping us as members of Toastmasters present Speechcraft virtually in this Zoom environment that we are all living in right now. So as we work our way through this little chat tonight, there are really 4 questions that I want to hit on. What is Speechcraft? Who is it for? How is it structured? And then the big question is, why would a club host Speechcraft? What is the benefit that they get out of doing one of these? So we'll start with, what is Speechcraft? Well, TI defines Speechcraft as being a blended learning program designed to provide optimal support for learners interested in building their communication and public speaking skills. Speechcraft is hosted by a club and facilitated by experienced Toastmasters members to non-members in 1 to 2 hour sessions for 4, 6, or 8 total sessions. All right, that's a pretty good description. I would liken this, if you aren't familiar to it, but you are familiar with the traditional program, I would say it's very similar to a hybrid version of the Competent Communicator Manual. There are projects that your participants work through. There are different lessons that you as a coordinator take them through. So it's very similar to the Competent Communicator Manual, the CC Manual as we know it, although it's now digital. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the structured piece of this, of how that digital plays into things. So who is Speechcraft for? Well, honestly, it's for anybody. It's for everybody. But there are kind of 3 groups of people that fit really well with Speechcraft. The first is the club guest. And these are the people who you see at your club meetings on an ongoing basis that are the guests that just haven't made that commitment to joining yet. Speechcraft is a great way to be able to say, hey, you know, I know you're not ready, but what if we had just a little program that you could join and give you just that taste of Toastmasters to really see if we can get your commitment level or see if this is something you're really interested in. The next is a group. So, and this is fairly obvious. It's a group within the community who's looking for an opportunity to increase their skills. If your club has already made a partnership with your local Rotary, this is a great thing to offer your Rotary club that you're working with. Or if you are a member of a corporate club, I think that Speechcraft is ideal for showing people inside your corporation who are looking for those opportunities to gain some skills. You know, come and experience Speechcraft. It's a short program. It's really no long-term commitment, and gain some of those skills that you're looking for. And the last category of people are what I'm describing as the toasters. Not Toastmasters, the toasters. They are the people who have that toast that they need to do, or they have a big speech coming up in the near future and they need to practice it, or they want to gain a little bit of confidence. So this is people like, you know, your best man in a wedding, your maid of honor in a wedding, or if you have that big work presentation. these people maybe aren't going to be the ones who are in it for the long term. Maybe they just want that 4, 6, or 8 session to get the confidence that they want, and you may never hear from them again. That's okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the benefit piece to this. But ultimately, Speechcraft is for anybody who is out there looking to gain a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more confidence and just practice their public speaking skills. So let's talk a little bit about what the structure of Speechcraft looks like. The first question that I know that will come up is, well, if we were going to do this as a club, what is it going to cost us? And in the digital experience, the cost for Speechcraft is $50 for every 5 participants. Now, the club can have as many participants in Speechcraft as you feel like you are comfortable taking on, but they sell it in 5 participant blocks. So here's how that math works out. If you have 5 participants, it's $50. If you have 10 participants, it's $100. But if you had 6 participants, it's still $100. If you had 4 participants, it's still $50. So they're sold in 5 participant blocks. Like I said before, the sessions are 1 to 2 hours over 4, 6, or 8 total sessions. And I'll give you a look at what each of those sessions can entail or do entail from a content standpoint here in just a minute. And this is where that digital experience really comes in now, where the shift from a paper manual that you have to mail to participants who are doing this virtually to the digital experience. Participants, who are actually now called Speechcrafters, get access to Basecamp. Just like you do for Pathways, they have Basecamp access for Speechcraft. And going along with that, Speechcraft now aligns in Pathways, both in the projects that they're working in and in the experience. So when you think about the experience that you have with Pathways working in Basecamp, it's a similar experience. Things like, there's a lesson that each participant does prior to one of the sessions. And it's very similar to working through a project in Pathways, where you might have an article to read or a video to watch or some sort of interactive experience. That is a part of Speechcraft as well. And the really cool part about this being a digital experience now is that the coordinators have access to sign off on our participants' activities, which is important for a reason that I'll share in a moment, as well as the self-assessment. So when you think about a Pathways project and you think about how when you get started, you take that assessment that asks a few questions of how do you feel, and then you go and you complete the project and you give your speech and you come back in to mark it complete and you get asked those same questions. And the idea is that you're comparing to see what you learned through that project. Speechcraft offers the same thing. The difference is that the coordinator can see that progress that the participants have made through the projects that they're working on. This is especially important when you think about if you convert some of these participants to members. As a club, you already have a leg up of understanding what that now new member, where they're at and what they're looking for. And it really helps you build a strong mentorship program within your club if you have an idea of where your members truly are at. So like I mentioned, participants work through projects very similar to what you experience in Pathways. And these are all projects that are communication based. There are sessions along the way, as I've mentioned. Inside those sessions, the experience is very much like a Toastmasters meeting. It includes speeches from your participants. All of the speeches are timed out at 2 to 3 minutes. At one point, you introduce table topics. Another point in the sessions, you introduce the evaluation process. And then you have the workshop. This is where, as coordinator or coordinators of the program, you help the participants work through understanding some of the things that they learned in the lessons that they did in Basecamp prior to the session. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're totally confident with teaching. there is a coordinator's guide that will help guide you through it as well. So I said that I would share what those projects look like in this, and this is what the sessions look like and what how the speeches align. So you can see that this is very heavily communication based, where this is all communication based, starting with projects like organizing your speech, preparing to present, giving and receiving feedback, body language, vocal variety, and then that apply what you've learned. One of the big differences between the digital experience in Speechcraft and the old traditional Speechcraft is that the topics that your participants can speak on have really broadened out. In the traditional program, they followed that CC manual very closely, where maybe it was a little more specific in what the project required for a speech. Here, they branch out into a lot more any topic that your participant feels like talking about, as long as it focuses with the structure of the session around it. So this is why I said that the Speechcraft coordinator marking off what the participant did in Speechcraft is important, because if they convert to a member and they've gone through Speechcraft, they now get credit in Pathways for completing projects, and even as much as completing level 1 and a little beyond. There's an additional flyer that I'm going to drop into the chat after I wrap up and we go into Q&A, so that you all can look at, you know, if a participant gives one speech or all 8 speeches, what type of credit would they be eligible for should they get should they become a member with it. And I think that the most important thing, or one of the most important things for those of us who are current members, is that coordinators who successfully complete a 4, 6, or 8 session Speechcraft earn DTM credit in Pathways. So it is a really great way to check the box on working towards that DTM in Pathways. So let's get into the meat of it. What is the benefit to the club to putting this on? Why should we do it? And there's a few really obvious reasons, and then maybe 1 or 2 that aren't as obvious but are equally as important with it. The first is that it brings awareness to your club. You know, we are all, every club is challenged right now with figuring out, how do we market ourselves? How do we talk about Toastmasters? Speechcraft is a great way for you to share the Toastmasters brand. It's a great way for you to share your culture of your club and tell your club's story and get your brand awareness out there for your club. It allows your members to be seen as subject matter experts to the community. You know, we are one of the very few unique organizations out there that teaches or develops leadership and communication skills. We are, to some level, subject matter experts, and Speechcraft is a great way for us to display being subject matter experts and helping to expand people's abilities in their communication skills. The third one I think is the most obvious, and I'm actually glad that it's not the first one on this list, because it's, you know, what the major objective is, right? You have the potential to convert participants into club members. Now, you may not get them all. You know, I talked about that toaster group who is just there for that, I just need to learn some skills real quick so I can go and accomplish this one thing. And that's okay. But you do have that potential to convert those participants. And for that toaster group, you actually have the ability to gain what I call referral loyalty. That means that maybe they did just show up to learn some skills to go on and give that best man speech. But a year or so, or however long later down the road, they have a friend who is talking about, oh, you know, I've got this speech to do. I've got this thing. I really am nervous about it. Well, hey, I went through this program however long ago. Let me get you the information. It was really great. It helped me through this. So even though you may never see a toaster become a member, if they had a great experience, you will hopefully have gained that referral loyalty. And the last piece to this is that Speechcraft is actually a great fundraiser for your club. If you are looking to raise money to do any number of things, Speechcraft is a really good way to do this. And I do want to focus on, how do we fundraise? Because I know that there are a lot of questions that TI has heard around, okay, that's actually a great idea because, in this new era, we need to, as a club, we need to start thinking about how do we spend money to market ourselves, but where do we get that money from? Well, Speechcraft is a way to do that. And TI has outlined some really great ways of thinking about this in 3 approaches. So the first is through a membership incentive, which is where you charge your participants $45 to do Speechcraft and tell them you do this. And if you join our club afterwards, it will only cost you $20 for your first 6 months of membership. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't raise us any money. Sure, it doesn't, except it does if you have a participant who doesn't join. You now have made $45 on this. And then you can take it a step further and you could charge the full $65 and say that it's a free membership for the next 6 months after this is over. And the same thing, well, now in this scenario, you don't gain any money if they join, but you do if they don't. There is the break-even approach where you could charge a minimal fee in order to break even on it. And there is the immediate benefit approach with this, which is where you can charge. Now, according to TI policy, the most that you can charge for Speechcraft is $90, and you can actually have a positive return to the club on this. Now, you shouldn't try to profit necessarily, but you can fundraise for different things that your club may need. So there are a lot of unique ways to look at this from a, how does it help our club and, how does it advance the organization? So that was a lot in a very short period of time, but that is Speechcraft as it stands with the new digital experience. I think that it is a really great tool that I would encourage every club to go out and look at hosting as a way to either help fundraise, get some brand recognition out there, or just, share the Toastmasters experience of membership. Now, before I turn it over to questions and answers, I want to make sure that I say, as your club growth director, don't forget about everything else. We have a couple of things that I want to call out that were in a communication to the district last week. We have 2 new incentives, or 1 new incentive, and then an enhanced incentive. So the first is the Be a Subject Matter Expert, and that is where we are looking for people to help District 19 generate some blog content for our district19.me website. And if you write a blog post on anything Toastmasters related, we will then share that blog post out on social media, and we will make sure that your club gets the credit and the advertisement piece around that. So it's a little bit of free advertisement to help us create some content. And then starting today, March 1st, we are running an enhanced marketing plan incentive where the first 5 clubs that submit a new or updated marketing plan to us are now eligible for $100 in marketing dollar reimbursement to implement that plan, as opposed to the $50. And actually, I made these slides yesterday and I already have to edit this. We are down to 4 clubs because we actually had 1 club submit a marketing plan today. So that is really great news. But if you are looking for that extra money, please get your marketing plans in. And we have a lot of great incentives out there this year. Head to the website, district19.me/incentives, and you can take a look at all of them. All right, with that, I think we do have a few minutes for a little Q&A.
I have a question. This is Mary Schulte.
Hey, Mary.
Hi. We and Game Changers were using Speechcraft to teach the residents of the halfway house about speaking and leadership skills, but they generally don't have access to computers. Is there a paper version of this?
There is not a paper version currently. Now, you may still be able to get the paper version on the TI website, but the new version of it has not been transferred to paper yet. And I would check with TI on when that availability will happen.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Susie.
Hi. When you do this within your club, is it during your normal club meeting? Or do you have a separate day for it so that your club can continue to do their speeches?
Yeah, I think that is really up to the club on what they want to do. It is typically done as a second session, you know, so not along with your club meeting. What's great about that is you can invite those participants to come to the club meeting still as well, and you know, just hey, we'll come and witness and see, you know, what a full meeting is like. But you know, I could see where a club may want to host it concurrently with their meetings.
I have actually seen that happen in some large clubs where they're together in the beginning, then the Speechcraft goes to a breakout room, and then they come back together at the end. But it's a longer meeting that way.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Chris. Great presentation. Glad to get the information. Are there marketing tools available for helping to promote Speechcraft similar to what we had for the previous program, and something that might be more digitally based that we can use for promotion?
So there isn't a lot out there right now. TI is working on that. What I can tell you is that if you purchase the Speechcraft packet, the digital bundle, there are marketing materials that are included in that. TI is working on some additional marketing materials that won't be part of the digital packet, but it's coming.
Okay, then as a follow-up to that, based on what I was already thinking, your comment, so because there is a cost to the clubs to sponsor a Speechcraft, then it would behoove the club to have those participants lined up before purchasing the bundle, in your opinion?
You know, that's a really great question, and it's one that actually came up on the call with TI this last week. You could go either way with it. You know, it was the answer to it. And I could see going either way with it. It would depend on, you know, financially where the club is at. If you have $50 to spend and it's just something that you want to do, then I would say go do it. Now, there's a catch to this, though. And this is where I could also lean towards having the participants lined up prior to purchasing. In the digital experience, as the coordinator, you will go in and you will set the date that your Speechcraft is going to happen. When you set that date, it is only active for 90 days after that date concludes. So if you said, well, we bought this packet and I don't know, I think we want to do this in a month, and now a month in, you don't have those participants and you need to go back out and you need to try to work towards getting that group, the clock is ticking. So I can see it both ways. If you have the participants, I think, you know, I don't know. It really is up to the club and how they want to do it, I think.
Okay.
Sorry, I think Betty, if you were trying to say something, you were on mute there.
Right, and I was searching for my microphone. Thanks for the reminder that that is only good for 90 days because I had forgotten that. I was not able to attend the workshop that you attended, but I had gotten some information along the line on that. That 90 days is an important timeline to keep in mind for your investment, especially.
Can you put the, whatever you were gonna put in the chat box, in the chat?
I would love to, and I had it, and now the Toastmasters site is running very slowly, so I am working to get it.
All right, well, while you search for that, one more question for you. On the incentives for the marketing plan, how will those be distributed to the club? Because I was thinking our club had submitted the one originally, and I don't recall that we received that initial incentive.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the $50 marketing incentive actually is a reimbursement. So you submit the marketing plan, I approve it, the club goes and spends the money, and then you let us know that you spent it, show us the receipts, and we cut you a check to get you that money back.
Okay. Thank you.
And unfortunately, it doesn't look like I am going to be able to get that page to you all tonight, but I can absolutely get it sent over to everybody.
Chris, this is Matt Knorr. If it will be helpful, on the club growth page that is linked at district19.me, we can include a new section for Speechcraft, and we can definitely have that information up by Wednesday if that assists from a club growth role.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Absolutely. Thank you, Matthew.
Absolutely. So all individuals participating tonight and all future viewers of this Hot Topics recording, for any Speechcraft information, please be sure to go to district19.me, and we will have links available and some detail and some additional details from Chris more than likely.
Thank you for that, Matthew.
I was a bit surprised you mentioned using it for fundraising. I've never thought of that as being part of how you could use it.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was the more interesting piece because I had never thought about that either, but it would work.
I think that would work great for some corporations.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah. There was a Zoom meeting last week that I watched that talked about that. Just had a little snippet. So thank you for doing this and filling in the blanks.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it is 8:30 and I want to respect everybody's time. So if there aren't any further questions, I will turn it back over to Betty.
Thank you, Chris, for the presentation. Very informative, and I hope that some of you will consider trying it and also looking at it as a potential fundraiser for you. I want to invite you to come back again the 1st of April because we are going to be focusing on our spring conference. Our spring conference chair will be our speaker, and I'm sure that she will have lots of great information to share with you regarding our upcoming conference and what that's going to look like. So please pass the word on to your other members, your other area directors. It would be great to have a big audience for this presentation. So I thank you again for your time tonight and look forward to seeing you again on the first Sunday in April. Good night, all.